birth of Elliot Ludwig to where we are today in the end of chapter 4. So let's start all the way back before the year 1930 with Elliot's birth. We don't know the exact year that he was born, but because infants don't start in corporations, that means that he had to have been born sometime before 1930, probably reaching the age of at least 25 or 30 before starting his company. And in the year 1930 was when Playtime Co. was founded, with Elliot Ludwig being the owner. But Elliot wasn't just any business owner. He had the goal of ensuring each child smile with his creations and to make the world a better place for children. Later in 1950, Playtime Co. eventually created the Poppy doll, the world's most incredible doll that could really speak to children.
You are about to see the most incredible doll ever invented. Her name is Poppy, and she is the first truly intelligent doll in the world.
Poppy Playtime!
Poppy's as lovable as a real girl, and she talks like one, too.
Hi, my name is Poppy. I love you. Can you help me polish my shoes?
Each doll used a ring and string system with a voice box inside of the doll, making the doll appear to be a real girl to children, where they could brush her hair, polish her shoes, have tea parties, and do pretty much everything with their very own Poppy Playtime doll. But Poppy Playtime wasn't just another one of their toys, but their biggest toy yet, as it was the very first toy that put them on the radar and made them a household name in America, allowing them to sell many more toys in the future. And after her, they went on to make more toys like Bron and Boxy Boo, but none of the toys they ever made can even compare to the success that Huggy Wuggy brought Playtime Co., as he was their most successful toy, making them so much money to the point where they even made a knockoff called Kissy Missy. Huggy Wuggy was made in 1984 and Kissy was made in 1985, just about 10 years before the Hour of Joy, and Playtime Co. was at its absolute peak. However, the company would soon start to take a dark turn. One man was able to take the company from going into financial ruin back into profit, and that man's name was none other than Dr. Harley Sawyer, who was very close to Elliot, as when he was a child, he joined Elliot's Young Geniuses program, where Elliot and many different smart kids would all work on science experiments, and most likely because of this, he was scouted by a Playtime Co. employee named Lockhart, who would then recommend Sawyer to Leith Pierre, and Leith invited him to the factory for an interview on January 15th, 1990. And after this was when they started to work on the Bigger Bodies initiative, which Harley Sawyer came up with.
Now we're understaffed. Safety protocols are being abandoned. Workplace incidents are common. I'm here now with a solution. The Bigger Bodies Initiative. We can increase our workforce and simultaneously decrease the number of lawsuits and people on our payroll if the people we have working aren't people.
They most likely made the prototype first and then continued on with experiments that were 100% biological, requiring organs and food to live, rather than other fuel sources like the prototype. And sometime in 1990, they were able to create their very first success, Boxy Boo. Immediately after, they go on to create other experiments like Pianosaurus, Yarnaby, and Huggy Wuggy, who was described as the ideal experiment. But after Huggy, they started making some advancements with their experiments, eventually proposing experiment 1188, otherwise known as Catnap, and he was made to have the immunity to and the ability to dispense the red smoke, which was eventually used in play care in order to keep the orphans asleep and possibly to even take them without anybody noticing. And the experiments kept getting more and more advanced as they continued with the Bigger Bodies initiative, like with the creation of Mommy Longlegs, who was created in order to test out Playtime Co.'s elastic plastic, and she was eventually used in the game station where she would lead the kids to each game. But although Huggy was the ideal experiment in June of 1992, just 2 years after he was created, he managed to to escape through an open delivery bay door and into the wilderness, where he would then go on to kill at least 5 people, but most likely 11, as 6 of them were declared missing. During the hunt, one of the employees caught Huggy attacking him on camera, where he wasn't able to notice him until the very last second. And considering Huggy's like 18 feet tall, his ability to be unnoticed, especially in a terrain that he's unfamiliar with, means that Huggy is insanely intelligent. Then in 1993, we see the events of Doughy, where a child named Jack Ayers was invited to come to Playtime Co.'s factory for some kind of tour of their doughy dough. But while he was on his own next to a giant vat of dough, he either climbed up over the railing or someone pushed him to where he fell into the dough, supposedly killing him. But Playtime Co. sent a very mysterious letter to Jack's parents saying that they could revive their son. When they came back to the factory, a scientist introduces them to Doughy, and at first they were shocked, and his dad didn't even want to talk to him. But because his mom wanted to make things right and felt guilty about what happened, they go into the room with Doughy. But the scientist shut and locked the door behind them. And because Doughy was still adjusting to his new body, he became extremely violent and killed his parents.
Susan, get away from me!
Jack? Mommy won't lie to you, Jackie. Mommy won't hurt you. I'd never hurt you.
Hey! Hey! Open this door! Open the door! Please!
Baby, let's get lost for the night.
And after.
If we fall, just promise you'll hold me tight.
Poppy, come back.
But even though Sawyer and the other scientists were creating these scientific miracles, and especially with Mommy Longlegs and Doughy being able to literally shapeshift, he still wasn't immune to the sin of pride. He became so arrogant and so detached from humanity that he would kill many orphans and even adults just because of his own experimentation, or even mistakes that he would make, which led to the higher-ups in Playtime Co. turning him into Experiment 1354, where he had his organs taken and put into a giant metal container where his body would be stuck there, but his mind would be able to go all over the factory, and he was forced to help the scientists with whatever questions they might have. And although Harley was very dangerous, his knowledge was too valuable to just kill him.
You need my knowledge, my intellect. Why do you think you're sitting in there right now and not in Boxy's stomach? Let me tell you how this is gonna go, Sawyer. From now on, you're here to give the lab boys answers when they need them, and carry out procedures when and how we tell you to. That's it.
But then in 1995, everything went downhill for Playtime Co. in the span of a single hour, where the prototype managed to convince many of the other toys to kill everybody in sight, all at 11 a.m. on August 8th, 1995, where almost all of the employees were killed and dragged down to the basement, where they would then be eaten in order for the toys to live, as they quickly ran out of food. And the factory would continue to be completely empty, with the toys being the only ones still alive for about 10 whole years. Where Mommy Longlegs got even crazier, the prototype killed all who defied him, and the good toys eventually managed to find Safe Haven, which was originally built as a bunker for the employees to hide in the event of a catastrophe. But in 2005, we receive a strange letter and VHS tape which told us to find the flower, and from there we see the events of chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 all unravel. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video right here.